Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to be sharing my kids' portfolios with you. Now, full disclosure, in the state I live in, portfolios are not required. There's actually no requirements in the state I live in regards to homeschooling, but I choose to keep homeschooling portfolios for two reasons. One, I think it's a really good idea to keep a record of what my kids are doing, just to see their growth and to make sure they're progressing. And two, just in case my children ever choose to enter the public school system, I want to have a record of what the work they did. Now, I don't think the public school would even care to see, honestly, the binders I've created. I think if my children chose to enter the public school system again, they would most likely just give them a basic standardized test type thing to see where they are leveled-wise. But really, I think they would probably just stick them in whatever grade level that they anticipated. But it would be nice that if for some reason they didn't test a particular grade level, I had the work to show them that, yes, they have done that. So it's really just to cover myself and to keep a record of what they're doing. So if you're new here, I have a 10-year-old who's fourth grade. I have a 6-year-old who's first grade and a 3-year-old. Obviously, I'm only homeschooling my two oldest at this time. But my oldest did K through second in public school, so her portfolio starts in third grade. And my middle child, my youngest daughter, has started since the beginning. So you will see kind of what I choose to include in those areas for each of them, because they are a little different, obviously, based on their ages. So this is my first graders. And what's different, and this is just a plain binder I already had. I didn't buy anything special, there's no fancy cover. Again, I think it's a lot more about what's inside it than how it looks. So what's different about hers is because she has a fall birthday, she's always straddling two grades, at least where she is. Usually I find that she moves up to the next grade level more January than beginning of the next school year. So that's why I have it divided into K through first grade, and obviously I don't think there's a lot of things you need to keep for first grade. But you can see here I have tabs on the side, and then I have the year. So the first thing you're gonna see here is, this is just to cover up her personal information, is my goals for her. And again, this is all made on OneNote. I have a video, I'll link up above, but I have a specific tab in OneNote where I have their name and portfolio information that I copy and paste from OneNote and that I could just print for this portfolio. But these are the areas I wanted to make sure she had mastered, and she had. And then I have a curriculum over here. I include, we are year-round homeschoolers, I include what she did. So we have language arts, rating, math. Fall, same thing. In the early grades, I'm only really thinking about reading, writing, and math. Anything extra is great. So that outlines what she did. And then our family subjects. So we covered medieval history, core knowledge, what we covered in science, geography, social justice leaders, and then extracurricular, what she did swimming, gymnastics, co-op, the main areas we cover in co-op. And then I have a read aloud list that we do as a family. So this is including both my kids' books, or in their portfolios, and this is everything we've read as a family. So that's just a quick overview of kind of her years. And I think having it separated like that, because if I tried to go back into this, I wouldn't remember half the stuff. So keeping an accurate record and having that stuff saved in OneNote, I can access it. So the first you can see here is we have language arts kindergarten. So what I included in this is just some handwriting and phonics work that she's done. Just to see, and I talk about in that 6 weeks, 1 week off video, I'll link up above as well, how I choose which things to include, but usually it's a sample from the beginning and then the end of that 6 week period. And I do include things like this where I tested her on her reading and her score, because I think that is something that's important to be able to measure. So I have a couple of these. And I do make sure to have the dates when she does this. So it kind of just shows her progression. So the next thing would be Moving on to first grade. So I have the year up here, again, personal information. First grade, these are my goals for her. Obviously, she hasn't finished all, or these are the curriculum. She hasn't finished all of this. So I will usually update this by the end of the year, but I will include things, her work samples, when I do that 6 weeks on, 1 week off prep. So this, I included her schedule and everything that it entailed. Now this was saved on OneNote, and I just copied and pasted to her specific portfolio tab on OneNote. And this was her winter spring. And again, read aloud list I included for that. And then on here is everything first grade. So I do have multiple grades in a binder just because I want to make use of the binder, especially with these younger grades. There's not a lot of samples to be kept that I can put more than one grade level in, because she's always on 1 to 2 or straddling 2 grades. It's easier that way. So that would be some examples of first grade work. Again, it just has the dates on top. And then we do have a couple things for science that in core knowledge, language arts, they do have different units, science, history that they learn. So I did include, and this is just a sheet protector, things that she has done in here that wouldn't fit in a hole punch. So she cut this out. This is her astronomy journal that she made. So I think that was worth keeping and showcasing her work. And then the last tab is math. So I do have a couple examples of, her kindergarten math with confidence. But again, I don't think they're going to be overly concerned with what she did in kindergarten. I do have, and I put when she did it, the dimensions. So she did KB in fall 2021, and I do keep a record of that. Obviously, she started this 1A last fall, and it does show the scope and sequence of what they're covering. But for math, all I keep is the Dimensions Math test booklet. I think this is helpful because this is something I think someone reviewing this or a public school would want to see what she's capable of doing by herself. So these are things, like I read her the questions, but she fills out the answers herself, and she doesn't always get them all right, and she shouldn't. So that is what I keep as an example of her math work. Now I do keep some art things that she does as well, and I will write on the back what it covered and when. So we were talking about shapes, and it will have a date on this. So this was a still life in June 2022. That's what she did. Some things from history. So I do keep in the back sheet here, just some examples of her art, because I do think that's important to keep as well. Even though it's not a core subject in a lot of public school areas, I think it's important. So that is how her first grade portfolio looks. Next, I'm going to show you my fourth graders. So hers is the same thing, just a lot thicker. And this is just a binder I had on hand. I didn't buy anything specific. So hers is also 3rd and 4th grade as well. So I have the tabs here on the side. Same thing as you saw before. I have the goals for 3rd grade. I have so includes our group subjects, what she did the summer of 2021, what she started with fall 2021, what she did the following summer, our family subjects. So it's just a brief overview and some of the curriculum we used. And then I have an example of her schedule and our human body, the resources we use, the Walt Disney, and this shows, what every day looked like for her. And then I have examples. So for geography, I have those unit assessments that Core Knowledge provides as an example of what she can do independently and what she learned. Some map work. For science, again, I have those unit assessments, which are handy to use to show what your child actually learned. So a lot of the core knowledge things that she fills out during our units, I will put in the back here. And especially this one. This is one she did multi things. So she did graphing with it, as well as answering questions. So it kind of shows what she's done. And then in the back here, I did print this out from, again, that OneNote showing our human body study, the resources we used, the experiments we did. Next tab is language arts. So for her read aloud list is right here, and then her independent reading. I do not include books she reads for fun. This is books she read in her language arts curriculum. I don't do that because she reads a ton of books, like probably 10 books a week. I'm not gonna, the list would be endless, and the upkeep of that list would be endless. This is all they'd really be concerned about, or really want to know, what is she reading on level. So, and then I do have examples of her writing. So this is something she typed on Canva, and she included the pictures. This is a rough draft she made on Canva. I do include some of these book discussions, so where you go over the theme, so the elements, so theme, story, character, setting, external details, internal details, conflict, and solution. So some of the books that are on that independent reading, I include her Michael Clay Thompson, her sentence analysis on here. This is another thing that she wrote. And she likes to include graphs with her writing, her nonfiction writing. So some more sentence analysis, some writing samples. But that's pretty much what I kept for language arts for 3rd grade. Now on to math. I did the same thing I did with my younger daughter. She has the mapped out when she used it, and it kind of, again, you print this off Dimensions website, the scope and sequence, when she started it, and what topics were covered. And again, I just keep some examples of her math in there, some graphing. And one thing, just like the other one, I keep the test booklet in back to show what she does independently. So next would be 4th grade. So that covered all of 3rd grade. So for science, here's the sheet for it. So 4th grade, we're entering 4th grade. First up is science. So before you saw 3rd grade, this is all 4th grade science. So I've just pulled some of those core knowledge worksheets or assessments and stuck them in here that shows, what she has learned so far this year. And I did include this. Again, she did a lot of research and graphing with this. And based on the graphing, she had to make recommendations. I think those are the skills that they would want to see anybody reviewing this, that she's able to pull information from different things. So, then on to language arts. And again, I didn't put anything like this in sheet protectors because we're not flipping through this all the time. It's not gonna get ripped, it's fine. Michael Clay Thompson sentence analysis, and I included the dates, so a couple examples of that, some lit review of the books she read, and then for math, for 4th grade, again, I have the test booklet that is in here, and it has how she did and the independent work she did. So that's all they're gonna wanna see. In the back, I do have 3rd grade art examples and 4th grade art examples. This is not art. This is when she was doing the core knowledge vocab index cards. We have not done it this year, but I did think it was worth including in here. But she has some of her art, just like my other daughter, that is in here that I think is a good display of the stuff she is capable of doing. So this was her still life and different art techniques she's learned. And then I have art samples for 4th grade as well. And they do have the date and what they covered on the back. So what specific art we were learning about. I keep that in a folder in the back just because it's a lot bulkier. And same with the test booklets. They're just a lot bulkier. It's easier to keep them in the back. But that is everything I keep in their portfolios. And like I said, this is not something I'm required by the state to do. So I know there are certain other requirements. If your state did it, you might have to do it differently. But this is what the information I think that's important for someone looking at what they've done, or even me, to track their progress over the years to see what they've accomplished and how they've progressed and kind of overall goals, and if we've reached those goals at the end of the year. So if you have any specific questions about anything I showed you, leave them in the comments below. Matt, thank you for watching.